Hello, good evening. Hello, can you hear me?
Hello, madam. Yeah,
All
good
right,
evening.
good evening to you all. Some more to join, right?
Yes,
All
ma'am.
right. Yeah. And how did you do your examination? How did you fare the examination? I'm referring to pedagogical psychology. You
Yeah,
had exams, right?
it was done, ma'am. The
Uh,
thing was, yeah, we managed hardly managed the time.
hardly manage. Hello, Chana, you're muted.
Yeah, ma'am. The problem is, I don't have much signal here, ma'am.
Uh-huh.
Am I audible, ma'am?
You're audible.
Uh-huh. Yeah, thing was, ma'am, we could not manage the time, but anyhow,
Ah,
hardly we could manage. Yeah, I
you
don't
have
know
been
about
given two
others.
and a half, no?
Yeah.
Two and a half. How many questions?
We had to write 4. Altogether, there were 5, but we had to write 4.
Yeah. Normally in a structure, they say, Puta, half an hour
Yeah.
for uh, for a question. So half an hour, can you should write it in 2 hours. I have given you 2.5 hours. You understand what I'm telling? Right. Others, how did you find it? Anyway, now you all, it is done and dusted. No, don't worry. Others, how have you found it? The paper. Can you talk? Hello? 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 Why? This is, I'm not connected.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah, why don't you respond to me?
I have a background noise.
Noise.
That's my, yeah.
Okay. You can hear me, no? If you
Yeah,
can't hear, I really do not know when you don't know, when you don't respond. So all have done the paper as well, right?
Yeah, ma'am.
Now
We
it is
got,
done and dusted. You could manage. Now Channa
yeah,
has found it difficult to do it in 2.5 hours. So
yeah,
what
the
about the
time,
others?
time was the issue. Yeah,
Is that so? But you
timing.
managed, right?
Yeah, we managed, but yeah, it was difficult in the timing. Yeah.
It can't be, Habai, because any exam, I told you, no, any exam, normally a structured essay, uh, I have actually set some as a normal structured essay. It's normally, it's supposed to be done in half an hour. So you have half an hour into 2 hours plus another half an hour.
Yeah, but they told 2 hours, right, ma'am? In the paper also it was mentioned 2 hours.
Is that so? You got only
Yeah.
2 hours.
Not in the paper, I mean, in the link or something. They have mentioned 2 hours.
Oh.
So, yeah, after we submit, we get the message as late submission. So, yeah,
Anyway, don't worry, you all have done,
yeah.
right? Anyway, I wanted it for 2.5 hours. I don't know. Now it's done and dusted, y'all. It's only a weightage, no, from the final paper. So the rest is
Mhm.
also done. So don't worry. I will try my level best to finalize everything in 2 weeks time, like, okay.
Okay,
And
sure.
now you can focus on our new module. In this new module also, you have to know we have 3 hour sessions, 7 sessions. So 21 hours. In between that, we have to actually do a presentation. We have to do a written assignment and then the written examination. That is how it's going to be like, right? So we covered our first session. So in the first session, what we did was we looked at the term methodology. If not, it goes as educational technology. So we looked at the definition of educational technology and we learned what this educational technology means, right? It's not teaching using technology, right? You can use technology to teach, and there are new methods and new techniques that we can use in the classrooms using technology, but to teach, to enhance teaching and learning. But educational technology doesn't mean only that. It means how actually you carry out your learning and teaching process in the classroom. So we have discussed that. Can you remember it? Can you remember it? I want you to say yes or no, otherwise I don't know. Forget about background noise then. But how can I go on talking to a kind of empty class වගේ එකක් තියෙනවනේ. එහෙනම් අඩු ගානේ text වත් කරන්න if you can't talk. It's very disrespectful, no, when you don't respond. එහෙම එකක් නැද්ද? All have background issues, noise issues. Do you all have background noise issues?
No, ma'am.
Then
The timing, I mean,
timing can
it's time, there is a program going on in the mosque. That's the problem here. I can't, yeah.
right. 7. What time will it be over?
It will be over in a while.
In a while, okay. Don't worry then. But somebody, now there are Sinhalese also. You all don't respond. I don't understand. It's okay. I go on talking then. Let me, right? Okay. Then I discuss approaches then. The 2 main approaches after looking at, let me open that document because maybe that you were in your examination mind. And now, right, okay. I'm opening the document. Educational technology. Then I'm sharing the screen. Wow, okay. Now here you can see introduction to educational technology. Then I actually gave you some definitions, okay? And in that definitions, I actually get you to look at what educational technology is, and all that. So educational technology is the field of study that investigates the process of analyzing, designing, developing, implementing, and evaluating the instructional environment, learning materials, learners, and learning process in order to improve teaching and learning. So everything related to learning and teaching, that is the scope of this module. That is what I really want you to know. So second definition, education technology as the theory and practice of educational approaches to learn. So educational's third definition, educational technology can be understood as meaning the development of set of systematic techniques accompanying practical knowledge for designing, testing, and operating school as education system. Okay. Here, all these things are related to educational technology. That means learning and teaching process. Everything related to learning and teaching process is educational technology. So an instructional system requires a teacher to be the designer and developer of the instruction program, that is the lesson plan, knowledgeable in the subject matter content, skilled in the writing of instructional objectives, that is each and every lesson you have to write objectives, specific objectives. So we are going to look at Bloom's taxonomy for that. Okay, cognitive domain, psychomotor domain, and affective domain, and all that. So then creative in choice of teaching resources and aids, so learning teaching materials that you can use. Innovative in the choice of teaching techniques. So it's not typically that every teacher goes in front of the class and go on talking. What kind of innovative techniques can be used in the class? The assessor and evaluator of teaching and learning outcomes. So we are going to look at these kind of processes involving, if not component involving learning and teaching process in the classroom. Approaches, methods, techniques, lesson plans, and materials, basically. Are you okay?
Yes, madam.
Yeah, okay. So this is only a recap that I gave you, because if suppose that you have forgotten, right? Then I discuss the approaches. We have to start with the approaches. So to start with the approaches, we had look at this, right? Approach, method, and technique. So approach is a set of beliefs that the teacher will have about learning and teaching. The set of beliefs that the teacher will have on about teaching and learning process. Then based on the teacher's belief on how teaching can take place, right? That set of beliefs that the teacher has about learning and teaching process. The methods and the techniques are chosen and implemented in the class. So that I discussed, can you remember? Giving you the example of pimples and all that, if you want to actually go somewhere and all that, I took the examples and I discussed what is approach, what is method, what is technique. Can you remember?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes,
Then after that, I talked to you about the two main approaches. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
What are the two main approaches?
Teacher-centered approach.
Very good. Student-centered approach. Thank you for responding. Otherwise, it's very difficult, right? I don't know to the other end you all hear me or not. And it has happened to me also very recently, actually, in one of my class. Uh, 2 weeks back, no, last week, I was talking to a class and they were not actually responding much. Maybe it's actually very small class, not in your institute, some other institute. There are foreign students also. Very few students, maybe 3 or 4. So So I went on talking, and then ultimately when I wanted to share something, I looked at the class, I was disconnected. And I didn't know that I went on talking. That also can happen, no? Right. So because of that, adugana yes or no what කියන්නම වෙනවා, right? Right. Then we discuss characteristics of these student-centered and teacher-centered approaches. Can you remember?
Yes, ma'am.
Did I discuss or I didn't discuss? I discussed, right?
Yes, ma'am, you have
Yeah.
discussed.
Can you remember that I discussed theory of language, theory of learning in teacher-centered and student-centered, referring to what? I'm asking a few questions.
Behaviorism.
Very good. Very good. Behaviorism and constructivism. Behaviorism and constructivism. Right. So behaviorism, what is the belief? How do people learn? Learning is habit formation through repetition. Learner is an empty vessel. Teacher is the sole authority of classroom and center of classroom. Knowledge is imparted by the teacher to the students through spoon feeding. Mistakes cannot be tolerated. Am I right? And students are very passive. Techniques are drilling and controlled practice. Can you remember?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So student-centered approach, the theory of learning is constructivism. Constructivism means learning by doing, trial and error learning. Teacher is not to spoon feed. Instead, teacher should actually consider that the students are not empty vessels. They have prior knowledge, existing knowledge about the world and knowledge about the subject. So the teacher can make use of the existing knowledge in order to get the students to build new knowledge on top of that. For that, teacher actually gives them tasks, activities, and teacher gets them to work in groups and pairs, cooperative learning, because they can actually share their knowledge and expertise and then engage in discovery learning. Otherwise, it's difficult. Only individually, if they try, they might not be able to do. But when they work with others, more knowledgeable others, peers and all that, then they can actually get together, share their knowledge and discover. So cooperative learning is very important. And recalling prior knowledge is very important. What is the other element? I talk about 3 important principles. One is recalling prior knowledge because the learner is not an empty vessel. Then the second one is cooperative learning, so they can work with others and discover new knowledge, construct new knowledge. What is the third element, if you remember? In the student-centered classroom, if you believe in constructivism, discovery learning, what is it? Can you remember? Authenticity. What is the word? What is the word? Authenticity. Yeah, authenticity means real life situations, real life materials, real life tasks are brought to the classroom. Those are the 3 underlying principles actually. One is cooperative learning because they have to do it and learn, so better they work with each other. Other one is recalling prior knowledge because they are not empty vessels. They have prior knowledge about subject matter, experiences, knowledge of the world, etc. They have to actually make use of it in engaging in trial and error learning. And the third one is authenticity. Authenticity means real life experiences are brought into the class. You get them to do activities which are actually a reflection of real life tasks. That is what you have to do, right? You have to always connect the subject matter to real life context. Those are the actually learning theories, behaviorism and constructivism. So apart from that, we talk about role of the teacher, role of the learner. In teacher-centered, teacher is the center, teacher is authority, teacher only possess knowledge, teacher at the center. But in student-centered, teacher is only a knowledge manager. Teacher is not the center, but the students are at the center. And teacher and students are very interactive in the class. There's a big rapport between teacher and students. It's not hierarchical relationship. It's a mutual relationship that you see in the student-centered classroom. Mistakes are tolerated and they are entertained. They are tolerated because without doing mistakes that they can't actually engage in trial and error learning. So mistakes are not prohibited. They can commit mistakes because they have to do it and learn, right? And spoon feeding is not the concept in student-centered classroom. Students are not empty vessels. They are very active participants in the classroom. So likewise, we discuss. Am I right? Did I finish my discussion that day on teacher-centered and student-centered approaches? I want you to respond to that. Did I finish my discussion on teacher-centered and student-centered approaches, comparing and contrasting the two that day?
Yes, ma'am.
Right, okay. Then did I start methods? Methods of teaching? Because if you look at this diagram, so based on the teaching approaches, you
Yes,
can select the methods and then the techniques. So I discussed this. If you have pimples, if you go to Ayurvedic doctor, you are given concoction, it's the method. If you go to the Western medicine, you will be given laser treatment, it's the method. Likewise, based on your approach, that you will have a set of methods selected based on the approach. Did I start that, Putta? Methods, did I start?
Yes,
yes,
madam.
ma'am.
What are the methods I discussed?
Lecture method.
I actually discussed only lecture method. Am I right?
Some more we discussed demonstration method.
Yeah.
Yeah, only one or two we discussed, ma'am.
Yeah, I remember now. Okay. Lecture method and demonstration method. Lecture method and demonstration method. They are student-centered or teacher-centered?
Teacher-centered.
Highly teacher-centered, no? Highly teacher-centered. Another term for lecture method? Another term for lecture method?
Talk and chalk.
Yeah, talk and chalk method. Very good. Talk and chalk method. Okay. Then another term for demonstration method. Another term for do and say method. What is it? Do and say. Then they are all teacher-centered because students are more or less passive. Teacher is in front of class and teacher explains everything. Students just passive learners in lecture method. In demonstration method also, teacher go in front of class, students are seated individually. Students are supposed to look at the teacher and observe what she's doing. And teacher may talk, so say and do. And students are supposed to just observe, see, and listen, right? Here, see and hear, 50% of remembrance. They have to learn. So I actually showed you that Dale's cone of learning as well, if I remember right. Yes, the no, the
Yes, ma'am.
right. Then I discuss actually, if now they have their own pros, they have their own cons. That means advantages, disadvantages. That is why still we actually use the lecture method. I'm not talking about adult education. Adult education lecture method is okay, right? Vast content can be covered because of that. And because you have developed your cognition, because of that, you actually can analytically taking lecture notes and all that. So it's all right. But in young, when it comes to young learners, when it comes to school going age, they need to actually become active participants. They have to do and say 90% of learning. Because of that, the teachers have to actually decide on student-centered approaches and methods. But still we can see we use this lecture method and demonstration method. Reasons may be large classes, vast content, time restrictions, right? Lack of facilities to get you to go to the lab and then to do it on their own and see. It may be very difficult due to lack of resources, maybe due to large classes, maybe due to time restrictions, because getting them to do it and discover is time consuming. So, lecture method, demonstration method, they are teacher-centered. So teacher-centered methods have their own disadvantages, but still they are being used. So because of that, we discuss this teacher-centered lecture method. If we are using it in the class, how to make it more or a bit, at least a bit student-centered to actually get the students to actually be a bit active in the class. 5 things that we can do uh, uh, kind of when we use lecture methods. Can you just in point form tell me what are the 5 things that we can do to make the lecture a more effective one? We discussed that also. I want you to talk there. 5, now you're using lecture method, its own advantages, disadvantages. If you look at teacher-centered approach, lecture method is in teacher-centered approach. So its own, they are the advantages and disadvantages. You can apply them in the lecture method also. So how can you make it a better lecture method and minimize the disadvantages, limitations, and make it a more student-friendly? And make it an effective lecture. What can you do? 5 things.
Asking questions.
Very good. Asking
Use
questions.
visual aids.
Sorry, Putta?
Use visual aids.
Very good. Use visual aids. What else?
Ask
Give
their
the
experience.
activities.
Ask
Ask
their,
experience.
yeah, relate it to their own experiences. Right. Okay. Then,
Give the activities.
in between, give them activities. Okay. Very good. Then, always use examples and comparisons in explaining. What is it? Always use examples and comparisons, analogies. එතකොට මතක ඉන්නවා, තේරෙනවා ළමයාට. right? Our mind works like this. You have to store information in our long-term memory like this, like you store information books in a library. Likewise, you give them analogies, you give them examples, then actually they can easily understand, because in a lecture method, you're not going to check whether they have understood or not every time, right? They are made to listen and learn. So if they are made to listen and learn, showing visuals, giving them examples, making analogies and all, that will help them. And then add a little bit of humor. Add a little bit of humor. These are the ways that actually you can use in order to make the lecture method an effective method. Okay, very good. So demonstration method also more or less teacher-centered. Because of that, our teacher-centered approach, getting all the pros and cons are applied here. So they are the students are passive, teacher is dominating, teacher goes in front of the class and demonstrates, students are passive observers in the class. In lecture method, passive listeners, here passive observers. So more or less it's actually teacher centered. But if you use demonstration as the method, make sure that all the students can see and hear the lesson, right? Because you go in front of the class and you show them something, how to do it, only the first row can see. That is very bad. So you have to make sure that everyone can see you. Everyone can see you. Observe all safety rules and procedures, because if it is a demonstration, you might be using some equipment. So you have to actually make sure that it is safe for the child, right? Keep eye contact with the class, ask and encourage class questions. You don't have to just look at what you are doing. Always make sure that you keep eye contact with your students. Then you know the students are observing and they are learning, right? You can study their faces and see whether they understand. So time to time ask questions. Get the students to ask questions if they don't understand. Explain why and how. Use the technique of show and tell. Not only showing, but you actually explain it. Then they can actually hear, they can actually see. It is better than just showing. Okay. Use a summary to strengthen your explanation. Once actually you finish the demonstration, you can actually give the summary. Because if they have not understood, then they can at least listen to the summary. So there are two teacher-centered methods. But today, I'm going to actually talk to you about some student-centered methods. Student-centered approach we have discussed now. So what are the methods coming under student-centered approach? So can you make a list of them? I have given you a list and you can see what I'm going to discuss. Right. Here, look at this. The content page. Here. Lecture method and demonstration method are student-centered. Sorry?
Cannot see the screen.
I cannot be seen. It's not shared.
No, ma'am.
Oh, you could have told me. Now let's see. You can now?
Yes.
Yeah. Now here, lecture method and demonstration method. These two methods are highly teacher-centered. So all the teacher-centered approaches, characteristics can be seen in lecture method and demonstration method. But this discussion method, scientific method, project method, flipped method, heuristic method, or discovery method, they are student-centered. So they come from a student-centered approach. So all these methods, starting from discussion to heuristic, and there are others also, right? It's not put here. They all are highly student-centered. So you can apply all the student-centered approaches here. Students are active in the class. Students are interactive in the class. Students develop their 4 C's. What are the 4 C's? Students develop their 4 C's. What are the 4 C's I talked to you about? Because
Cooperation,
no.
cooperation, creativity,
Cooperation, creativity, critical thinking, and
critical thinking.
communication. So students are not passive listeners. They communicate, they talk, they interact. Cooperative work, they work with other students. They become critical thinkers because you get them to do activities. They become critical thinkers, and ultimately they will be able to create their own knowledge using what you teach them. They are very creative. They can think out of the box. So as these 4.3 to the rest of it are student-centered approach based. So all the student-centered approach characteristics can be seen in them to this extent or that extent. Okay. So let's see first the discussion method, starting with discussion method and then scientific method. And I want to discuss flipped method also today, because based on the flipped method, I will actually give you an assignment. Okay. Your first assignment should be based on the flipped method. Ekanisa, I'm discussing that also today because I can give you the assignment today itself then. So you can leisurely do it, take 2 weeks and submit. Okay. Otherwise, then the presentation comes, you will find it difficult. Now you look at this. I'm going to discuss the discussion method. So as the word says, discussion. Discussion is not a one-way process. The teacher talks, students observe, students listen. No. It's a two-way communication between participants. So the teacher and students, right? If not other participants, maybe peers. We don't call them students, peers. Classroom peers, right? Friends. So peers, they actually talk to each other. So it's definitely a two-way communication. In the classroom situation, teacher and students all participate in discussion. It's not only teacher dominating and teacher possessing knowledge. Students have their prior knowledge, existing knowledge. They have knowledge about the subject matter. They have knowledge about the world. They have their own experiences. So during the discussion, the teacher spends time listening while the students spend some time talking. The discussion is therefore a more active learning experience for the students. The discussion is the means by which people share experiences, ideas, and attitudes. As it helps to foster students' involvement, as it promotes students' engagement, as students are very active in the classroom, talking, sharing their ideas and all that. They are learning by doing. They engage in learning by doing. It may contribute to desired attitudinal change. Discussion may be used in the classroom for the purpose of lesson development, making students apply what they learned or to monitor students. I will actually explain it. It's like this. Okay, without looking at this, I will just say, when you get your students to engage in discussion, they don't work individually. They work with others. So cooperative learning is there. One thing. It's never a one-way process. It's actually two-way process. So definitely they are interactive. So they are learning from each other. So they engage in group work, pair work. They interact with their peers. So cooperative learning takes place. So cooperative learning takes place. One of the 4 C's, that is cooperation. 4 C's skills of the 21st century to be developed through education, right? And then, they actually have their own ideas, own knowledge, own experiences to share with others. Then they will develop their communication skills. They will develop their communication skills, because they have, it may be a science lesson, it may be a maths lesson, it may be a history lesson. They have to share their ideas. So that is definitely communication skills are developed. And at the same time, they develop not only communication skills, they develop their soft skills also. You have to wait till the other person finishes. You have to accept others' ideas. You have to accept others' ideas. No, only I know, always you're wrong, you're not good enough, you don't know much kin attitude. Again, they have to deviate from that attitude. They have to wait till the others finish. They have to, if they don't want to accept their ideas, they will become polite. And they know how to actually respond in a respectful manner. And they know how to actually distinguish between relevant and irrelevant ideas that came up in the discussion. So it will help them to become critical thinkers. So one of the four C's of the 21st century, critical thinking. So there are a lot of ideas, discussions generated, but they actually learn how to distinguish between relevant and irrelevant, and the most important and least important ideas. So that develops their critical thinking ability, right? And when it comes to discussion, you have to know a special feature of discussion is monitoring. Teacher has to monitor. If you actually get them to discuss something without monitoring, they will deviate from the lesson. They will discuss something not relevant. Then you will not be able to get them to learn what they are supposed to learn. So the teacher has to monitor, teacher has to prepare, teacher has to actually be prepared, and teacher has to monitor what the students are doing. And there the learners become autonomous learners, because you have training, you train them in becoming actually autonomous learners. Get together, discuss and decide on what is right, what is relevant, and all these things. So they actually actively participate in classroom learning and thinking. They become independent thinkers, critical thinkers, right? So all the four C's are developed in the discussion method if you use them in the class. I will get you to look at one by one. One participating in a discussion listens. Can I get one of you to read the bullets? Can I get one of you to read the bullets?
One participating in a discussion listens with attention when others are speaking, remain objective, open-minded, respect and accept the contributions of others, but think independently.
Definitely, yes. That is critical thinking, right? You actually listen, gather information from others, but you can actually analyze it and see whether it's relevant and irrelevant. It will not happen overnight, okay? But when you use this method very often in your classrooms, right? The students gradually will develop these abilities in them. That is what is said. Okay, the next bullet, dear.
Assumes responsibility for contributing ideas for moving the group towards its goal.
That is also very important. They actually take up the responsibility of actually contributing to the discussion. They don't just wait and see, let others do. Now, some other classes, let others do the talking and interaction. I will just be in class. No, discussion. I also have to make my contribution. So the students see themselves as responsible learners. So they have actually responsibility to contribute ideas and get the work done. So each one actually take up responsibilities. That will lead to autonomous learning. So that also happens when you use discussion method in the classroom very often. Then
does not dominate the discussion.
Right. That is a problem. No? Teacher has to monitor. I told you discussion method, that is a limitation. Teacher has to monitor the class. So you can't do discussion with a large class. If there are 60 students, if you want to get them to form about 12 groups, 6 maximum in a group, no? So then how to monitor what all the 12 groups are doing? So you can't, actually it's a limitation. You can't have discussions with large classes. But still, teacher has to make sure, maybe it's a small class, you have only 3 groups in the class, but still you have to make sure that very good students, good ones, they will dominate others. That is a problem in discussion. So because of that, you have to make sure that nobody dominates. I'm the one, I would know everything, and he's actually good, he knows everything, but you can't actually get anybody to dominate. So make sure if you conduct a discussion that you don't get anybody to dominate, okay? Everyone is given equal opportunities, everyone is ready to listen to each other, whether it's not so good, even that they have to respect others, okay? Next. So teachers monitoring is a must. Next point.
Prepares adequately for the discussion and be able to support ideas with factual evidence.
Okay, now they have to be very well prepared. If not, you can actually give them the topics beforehand and ask them to gather information through resourcing. Resourcing කියලා කියන්නේ internet බලනවා, you get them to read books, search internet, talk to people, read papers, go to library and come prepared to talk about something, right? Lead a discussion like that. Okay, the next one.
Speaks loudly and clearly enough for all to hear.
Yeah, that's a very common issue, no? Even when I'm a teacher educator, so I have my teacher students, student teachers in my class. They are going to be teachers in another 2-3 years, but still it's a problem. There are those who come in front of the class and just murmur, whisper. So I can't hear them. Even the rest of the class can't hear them. Then what's the point? It's a waste of time. So because of that, if you conduct a discussion session in the class, make sure that everybody actually speaks loud enough for the others to hear. Otherwise, it's a waste of time because it's a knowledge sharing, no? So if the back of the class can't hear, what's the point? So they start idling, so it will lead to classroom management problem also. And time is wasted because nobody's going to actually learn from them. So it's very important that teacher gets the students to speak loudly and clearly enough. That, of course, is the training that you give your students. So they will actually develop other skills. Okay, very good.
Will
Next.
not be offended when the group does not accept one's ideas or suggestions.
Yeah. Now, if you actually, it's an advantage. If you do discussion method, if you use it often in the class, so students come to know, I can freely talk about what I know. So they will not feel inhibited, right? It's all right to express what I know and share it with others. So they will not feel inhibited. And at the same time, if a student's information, knowledge, or ideas are not accepted, then they are ready to actually accept the fact that my ideas are wrong, my ideas are irrelevant, and the student is not offended just because that their ideas are not accepted. So you will develop a lot of soft skills in you. You will not feel inhibited or guilty. You are ready to openly discuss. And at the same time, if your ideas are not accepted, you are not annoyed. You are not offended. So that kind of soft skills will be developed in the learner if you use discussion method often, right? And if not, if you're not used to that kind of thing, don't know whether what I'm going to tell is right or wrong, don't know whether they will not may accept it as a good idea, I might be seen as a foolish person. This is a foolish idea. So they will not be free. They are inhibited. And at the same time, if the ideas are rejected, they will not be able to actually tolerate it. They will be offended and annoyed and discouraged. So those kind of skills are needed in 21st century, the development of soft skills. So that also happens with the discussion method. Okay, the last point.
Asks for clarification of ideas that are not understood.
Yeah, students can always talk to the teacher and the rest of the class. Discussion is very interactive. You should not keep quiet. You should not allow your students to keep quiet. Okay. So when you are doing a discussion, when as a teacher, when you are using discussion method, make sure that everyone has a chance to contribute. Otherwise, a few students will be dominating. So you have to make arrangements that you have to actually monitor that everyone contributes. Organize, summarize, and synthesize. That means once the ideas are shared, discussed, you have to make sure that they are organized, summarized, and synthesized. For example, are you listening?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. For example, that if you're having a discussion on pollution, if you're having a discussion on pollution, so they will actually tell this and that, not in a very organized manner. What comes to their mind, they will actually share it with the class. So if it happens in groups or if it happens in as a whole class activity, then the teacher can actually, now they say, air pollution happens because of this. Then you can put it under one column, air pollution. So then there can be another one, waterways are all polluted. Then you put another column and say, water pollution you're talking about. Then some other student can say, water is polluted because of the chemicals used in farming. So you put it into water pollution column. And then somebody might say, actually, there's no proper disposal of garbage. It is land pollution. So you can put it into another column, land pollution. So while they are doing the discussion, you have to make sure that you organize, summarize, and synthesize. If it is a young class, teacher may be doing it as a whole class and doing it on the board, getting them to give their ideas. If not, your teacher can put them into small groups and teacher can ask them to organize their ideas into themes, subtopics, and all that. If they are used to do discussions, they will actually learn gradually to actually divide their ideas into subtopics and themes and present, organize, summarize, and synthesize. Okay. Now, as a teacher, that you want to actually get them to talk about trees, okay, trees, or forms of transportation and all that. So you can give them actually subtopics, sub-themes, any idea that they come, they have to think where it goes. It goes under air transportation. This goes under land transportation. Like that, they will put it in the right place and then present it to the whole class like that. So teacher should have a plan how to actually organize, summarize, and synthesize because they are young. Okay, you got my point, Uta?
Yes, ma'am.
Guide the discussion on the correct track. Make sure the objectives of the lessons are met. So that is a threat. When you give them discussions, when you use discussions as a classroom method, it is student-centered, no? So in student-centered approach, students discover knowledge and they do tasks and they themselves work. So you have to actually have a very proper plan made. Otherwise, they will deviate from the lesson and they will discuss something else. So not make sure that it's not to happen. They will not deviate from the lesson. You have to give them guidelines. You have to monitor them. You have to give them guidelines, right? Okay, I want you to have a discussion on trees, and these are the subtopics. Anything comes to your mind, you have to share and put it in the right column. So if you think that they will talk about internet, and they will talk about lot about internet, but you want only 10. So you can ask them, right, I want uses of internet 10 points, but you have to make the order of importance as well. So you guide them. Otherwise, they might talk about very minute things like, it will help you in cooking if you don't know, because you can go to internet and seek. That's not the most important. So you will ask them, right, arrange them in order of importance like that. So then that means you're actually not getting them to deviate from the lesson, right? So that is about the discussion. So all the student-centered approach characteristics are applied here. You can say this is highly student-centered. Students are autonomous. They are interactive. They are active. They are not treated as empty vessels. Instead, they actually have their own prior knowledge. Mistakes are okay. Teacher is a facilitator. Teacher is monitoring. Teacher is not spoon feeding, like that. You can talk about all the student-centered features here as well. Okay, got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, I really want you to know this scientific method. Before coming to the scientific method, I will actually discuss the flipped method. You know why I first want to discuss the flipped method? Today, I'm actually discussing the flipped method and get you to do your first assignment, the written assignment on the flipped method. තේරෙනවද ඔයගලන්ට මං කියන එක?
Yeah, ma'am.
මං අද flipped method එක කරනවා because I want you to do your written assignment on the flipped method. It's not a difficult one. If you understand the concept, you can easily do that. හරිද? එතකොට you have to open your ears and be very attentive, because then you can do your first written assignment on educational technology on the flipped method, because there we use the internet also, ICT also. So you can actually submit your assignment. How much time? 2 weeks can be given. Are you okay?
Okay, ma'am.
Right. Then others in the class?
Yes, madam.
Okay. Is Channa there? Vidanagi, Nilupuli?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. I'm okay, ma'am.
Right. Situmi, Sulochana, Shara?
We are here, madam.
Right. Okay. Listening. Now listen very carefully. If you don't understand, this is time that you have to ask me questions, because your assignment is sent by tomorrow. Right? Okay. Now here, this is flipped method. What is this termed as this method? Flipped method.
Flipped
Okay, Hari. Now, you know it's a student-centered method. So you can make your own notes, words and all that. It's highly student-centered. Okay. Why do we say it's highly student-centered? You get the students to work on their own. They are made autonomous learners in the class. So I really want you to actually know more about this flipped method. I will actually use, give me a second, a small, right. A second, I want to use something, a PowerPoint. Okay. Now, here, what is the meaning of flipping? I'm just asking, what is the meaning of flipping? What is the meaning of flipping? What does it mean by flipping?
Like totally upside down.
Oh, very good. Sending it upside down. going topsy-turvy. So in this flipped method, what happens is the traditional classroom is turned upside down. A total change is brought into the traditional classroom. So you can take down notes, right? Now you think of a traditional classroom. Think of a traditional classroom. How does it happen in the traditional classroom? The teacher comes to the class. Students have their textbooks or some reading material or listening or whatever. Maybe science lesson. Now teacher explains everything in the lesson. Am I right?
Yeah.
If it is English lesson, teacher explains the lesson. And if it is maths, teacher explains the concepts in mathematics related to that particular lesson. And then teacher gets them to do some activities based on what they have read. If it is life cycle of the butterfly, teacher says, life cycle of the butterfly is this and these are the stages and all that, what is in the book that the teacher explains. And then teacher asks questions. What are the stages of the life cycle of the butterfly? So students look at the book and write the stages. Am I right?
Yeah, ma'am.
And then teacher says, right, go home and do a poster on life cycle of butterfly. Teacher gives homework on what they have learned. Suppose you are an English language teacher. So it's a reading passage. So teacher gets the students to read what is there in the book and write answers by looking at the passage. And then go home and do something else, right? Based on what they have read. Now it says this is how that you can actually prepare something. So look at that and then do a replica of it. Do a model of it at home. So for that, you have to look at this diagram. Can you see this diagram? Is it big enough for you to see? The arrow I'm taking?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. There you can see, this is a traditional class. This is the flipped class, upside down. Okay? In the traditional class, you know the bottom. Look at the bottom. Remembering, understanding and apply. අපි ඒවට කියනවා lot කියලා. මොනවද අපි කියන්නේ lot. ඔයගොල්ලෝ ලියා ගන්න. LOT. That's an acronym. Lower order thinking. Lower order thinking. Lot. I type it here. Lot, lower order thinking. Why lower order thinking? Just cut and paste. Am I right? Just cut and paste. Do you understand? Just remembering, understanding and applying. There's nothing, they don't have to think and do anything. What they see, what they read, what they hear, what they are told, they have to write, do something based on that. අපි ඒවට කියනවා lower order thinking. What do we call it, පුතා?
Lower order thinking.
Right. එතකොට ඒවේ වැඩි ලොකු දෙයක් තියෙනවද?
No.
No. හැබැයි students are not empty vessels. They have their prior knowledge. So will we be able to get them to do lower order thinking activities at home? Is there a possibility? Can they read and understand something written in the book in your science lesson? On their own, will they be able to? Now, if it is a history lesson, right? It's a history lesson. So it's about the king, Kashyapa. It's about King Kashyapa. So you get them to come to school there is a kind of a lesson on King Kashyapa. All the information is given. You teach it. What is there in the book for a grade 9 class? But they are just remembering, understanding, and applying. Very lower order. Read and understand. So can they do it on their own?
Can't.
Why can't they read and understand? Can't they read and understand?
Can.
Can, no? Because they are not empty vessels. This is, I'm not referring to grade 1 or 2. But suppose they are a grade 6 class. There's a small passage. It's about the life cycle of the, I will take a lesson, okay? I will take a lesson. Give me a second then. Because you gave the wrong answer, so I want to actually say, let's see, life cycle of the butterfly description. Right. 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 Can you see what I'm highlighting here?
I can't see, madam.
You all can't see. Right. Let me. Now can you see what I have highlighted?
Yeah.
Now, butterflies, moths and beetles, flies and bees have complete metamorphosis. The young called a larva instead of a is very different from the adults. It also usually eats different types of food. There are 4 stages in the metamorphosis, maybe of butterflies and moths: egg, larva, pupa, and adult. So this is there in their science book. Okay. This is a grade 6 class. I'm just telling you. Now, in a traditional class, what happens? They have this in their textbook. They bring the textbook to the class. Teacher explains this in the class, taking the class time. Am I right?
Yes.
That is traditional. But we assume in the student-centered approach, in the flipped method, students have their prior knowledge. They can read and understand. Am I right? Grade 6 and can't they read and understand? They can. So now you tell them, right, before coming to class, to do this lesson, you want them to actually read this and come, know this and come. But they will not do that. You read this and come, you know what it is given there and come. They don't do that. Instead, the teacher has to get them to do. So now the teacher can, now this is only a very few lines, now the teacher can ask, what are the 4 stages of the life now here in the metamorphosis of butterflies and moths? 1, 2, 3, 4. So they have to read it on their own and write the 4 stages. Will they be able to do that?
Yeah.
So that is actually flip. You get them to do lower order. What they can do on their own at home before coming to the class. Now it's not only reading passage. So your lesson is about the life cycle of butterfly. In the flipped method, you have to use ICT. So there is a video. Now I will share the video with you. So I have to actually share the computer sound. So give me a second. Share sound.
Insects you can see in the environment.
Can you hear and see the video?
Yes, ma'am.
Now
Their
you watch
wings
this.
look like beautiful artworks. And they come in all the cool butterflies you see actually used to be caterpillars. Now you might be wondering, the cycle of a butterfly has 4 stages. Once an egg is ready, it hatches and out comes a larva. The caterpillar sheds this old skin because underneath, the pupa stage is pretty uneventful because all they really do is hang upside down in a cocoon.
Right. Now, can they hear and understand something when they come to grade 6?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, if you are a flip teacher, now you will get them to do lower order thinking activities. That means just read and understand, know and understand, right? You get them to do that part as out of class activities. So for lower order thinking, that means now you can actually send this video to them. You don't have to tell them, watch this and come. Instead, you have to give them noticing activities. මොනවද අපි ඒවට කියන්නේ? Noticing activities. So when you give them activities, they will do the activity by using the reading material or the listening material, that video or audio or reading material that you have sent in the book. But use of ICT is very important, right? In the flipped method. Now I get back to my slides. Can you see the slides now?
Yes.
Now no. Right. I will get that. Right. Okay. Now look at this. Now here, remembering, understanding and apply. Remember කියන්නේ කටපාඩම් කරනවා. You by heart. You rote learn. We get the students to rote learn, right? By heart. Understanding means doing something with understanding. They understand what is given there. So, for example, you're reading about deforestation. In that reading passage, deforestation, there are 6 ways that have, there are 6 reasons for deforestation. So, grade 7 class, you don't have to read it and explain. You can get the students read and understand, because they can read and understand, and write 6 reasons for deforestation. You get, this is just cut and paste. They don't have to think hard and apply. They don't have to analyze and then create and synthesize. They just have to comprehend. Understanding කියන්නේ ඒකයි. Okay? They remember and understand. That is අපි කියනවා cut and paste. So you give them some material, maybe audio, video, or reading material, a newspaper cutting or textbook reading or whatever, and give them some activities for noticing. That is only for lower order thinking. Lower order thinking කියලා කියන්නේ cut and paste. Listen කරලා ඒකෙම you listen and what is there, they have to do an activity based on that. Those activities are just select type. නැත්නම් just write one word. Something like that. Now if you send that video on butterfly, life cycle of the butterfly, you can get them to listen, and every 5th word of the life cycle of the butterfly is missing. So they listen and first complete the every 5th word which is missing. Just cut and paste, listen and write the word. And then you get them some 5 questions, MCQs. What are the life cycle of butterflies in proper order? Like that. So they can listen over and over, they can listen, and they can actually do the correct answer. Is it possible with anybody who can read and listen and understand? Can it be done by them? I ask you that question. Hello?
They can.
Uttaradenda. Otherwise, I don't know. Will they be able to do that simple activity?
They
Yes,
can,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yeah. Now, then what they are supposed to do in the class? They have to come to class to do these things, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. We call them hot. Hot means higher order thinking activities. Hot means what? Higher order thinking activities. Now, higher order thinking means it's a bit advanced. It's going beyond what is given in the book. Going beyond what is given in the book, right? And not exactly cut and paste answers are there. They have to think harder and apply what they have learned in real life context. They are hot, higher order thinking. So for that, they can come to class and do. There they can actually do group work, presentations, if not dramas, if not debates on what they have read, like that, higher order thinking. They can actually come and do in the class. But in the traditional class, the teachers have no time for hot. You have a 40-minute lesson. In what is given in the book, the same thing is explained by the teacher. And lower order activities are done in class. And then when they are supposed to apply that and do something, they have to do it individually, higher order thinking individually at home. That is the traditional class. But it is not actually very helpful most of the time. What they actually are taught, life cycle of the butterfly. So teacher actually explains everything in the class, get them to go home and draw a poster on life cycle of the butterfly individually, because no class time is left for that. But if you flip that class, you ask them to read it and know what it is at home, because you give them noticing activities, because it is just listen and do, just read and do, cut and paste. Already answers are there in it. So you're getting them to do on their own. That's the only difference, right? So if you actually give them simple activities, they can do that. And then they come to class, you get them to be in groups, cooperative learning, and do a drama on life cycle of the butterfly. One group will do a drama on life cycle playlet. I am this, I am that, I am this. Actually mime the 4 stages and act it out. And another group will do a poster to go on this ball, right? And another group can actually do something else based on what they have learned and all that. So it's a lot of creativity and cooperative learning. All these can happen because the basics, cut and paste, lower order things they have done before coming to the class as out of class activities based on the materials and noticing activities that you have sent them. So then they know what is there in the reading passage, what is there in the video, they know. Because they can read and understand, they can listen and understand. They are just direct answers. And now they come to class, teacher has something more with lot of creativity, synthesis and analysis to do in the class. So they actually get together, be in groups and lot of creative activities or some some debates, presentations, dramas are done based on that in the class. They are higher order thinking activities. That is how it should be organized. I think after you ask me a few questions, I will explain it again.
Madam, excuse me.
Yeah.
That means the flip method means we have to make them pre-prepare for the lesson at home and teach them deeper at the classroom, isn't it?
Definitely, yes. Definitely, yes. Right? Normally, they are actually very important. Otherwise, your students will never be autonomous learners, right? So you might think, Kane, how on earth that my students can read and understand? By the time they come to grade 9, grade 7, grade 6, they can read and understand. But only thing is they don't do that because that is not their attitude. They are not trained in that. But if you really want to make them autonomous learners, because student-centered classroom is that, right? Initially, they might find it difficult because they're not used to it. Not because that they can listen and understand, not because that they can't read and understand, but because that they're not used to it. But when you flip your method, you give them all the support. So in the flip class, you have two types of activities. What are the two types of activities that you will have to organize? Outside of class activities, in-class activities. So outside of class activities are done before the in-class activities. Okay. Normally in the tradition method, in-class activities, then out-of-class activities for homework. But here it's not so. In the flipped method, out-of-class activities are done before in-class activities. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Then out-of-class activities are for Lotta or in the flipped method, out-of-class activities are for lower order thinking or higher order thinking?
Lower order thinking.
Lower order thinking. Very good. Then in-class activities are for
Higher order thinking.
higher order thinking. Very good. Then you can actually, once they actually now, flipped classroom method is actually a form of blended learning. You can take down notes, right? Form of blended learning. Blended learning. Blended learning means teaching and learning is blended with ICT. I repeat, blended learning is teaching and learning is blended with ICT. Okay? Are you getting me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So this flip method is a form of one way of blended learning. Okay. So definitely there should be the use of ICT. So how do you use ICT? Now, maybe that they have the textbook with them, but don't depend only on textbooks. You can use beautiful videos, right? You can use audio tracks. You can send them questions through WhatsApp. That is using actually technology, right? You can get them to be in a WhatsApp group, and you can send them some reading materials through WhatsApp group. If your school is using Moodle, you can use the Moodle, upload, and then you have the whiteboard on the Moodle. ඒවට ළමයි පුරුදු කරන්න ඕනේ. And they know before I go to class, I have out of class activities to be done, and I know what it is. So you're making them autonomous learners. When you continue to do that, that is the way that they have to learn, that gets into their mind. But as we never do that, they think that they can just come. They don't even open their textbook and read and come. They just come for the teacher to explain everything. Actually speaking, teacher doesn't have to explain, because if the teacher gives them simple activities, they are not writing essays, they are not writing summaries. Just fill in the blank, matching, MCQs, kind of organizing, rearranging, like very control type of activities that you will give them. Okay? Naming, listing, matching, filling the blanks, close texts, naming a diagram or something like that based on what they read or what they hear, what they see. If you get them to do that, will they be able to do that? Because it's just direct cut and paste. They can do that. Okay. So your students are made or becoming or are trained to be autonomous learners. So they use their ability to read, ability to hear and understand and do the activities. And by the time that they finish the activities you said, for out of class, cut and paste, for lower order thinking, they know what it is. Now they come to the class, right? And they now can engage in class time is used for deeper engagement with content, while the instructor provides guidance through collaborative projects, individual and group problem solving, peer-based learning activities. Now they come prepared with what they are cut and paste, life cycle of the butterfly. Now they know reasons for deforestations. Now they know. They come to class. Then they do a presentation. Then they do a kind of a drama based on that. They do a poster in groups and present it to the class and talk about it. So I showed you Dale's code, do and say, 90% of learning and remembering. So this is the effective use of time. Otherwise, in the traditional class, they can read and understand, they can listen and understand, teach also does the same thing in the class. Class time is spent on that, and some work is given to do at home, and it's never marked, it's never made, checked. No higher order thinking activities done. That is traditional, but you're flipping the class using IC technology. You actually flip the class and get the learner to engage in higher order activities, group work, projects, presentations, dramas, notices, posters, question and answer sessions in the class, higher order thinking, and you're making your students autonomous learners. Are you okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Everyone, because your assignment is based on this, everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, ma'am.
Sure. Huh? So then, we'll look at this also, this definition. Can I get you to read the definition on introduction? There are 3 definitions.
The flipped classroom is a model of blended learning in which students learn by watching video lectures or other educational material at home, while the homework is done in the classroom with the teacher and students discussing and resolving queries.
Very good. Next one.
The flipped classroom is an educational technique that consists of 2 parts: interactive group learning activities inside the classroom and direct computer-based individual instruction outside the classroom.
Next.
The most meaningful learning in a flipped classroom occurs as a result of efficient use of the extra class time.
Yeah, extra class time that they work at home and come. So you can use effectively the time allocated in the class to get them to do higher order activities in the class. So not each and every lesson, at least once a month, if you can actually get them to do this, they will learn how to read and understand and be prepared for a lesson and come to class and engage in presentations, question and answers, the poster making and all that, you know. So these methods are very important. Actually speaking, in Europe, in developed countries, these are the actual regular ways of teaching. Right? After coming to grade 10, 11 also, the exact thing in the history book, exact thing in the science book, teacher has to explain. If you think this is actually difficult to read and understand, you can actually simplify it. You can send them definitions for these scientific terms first. Then read it. Come to know the scientific definitions. And then you can set a small activity, match the definitions with the words. And then now read the text in page 20, on page 20. Now do this activity. Maybe it's a transfer of information, just completing a grid, just answering MCQs, just rearranging, just matching one half of a sentence with another half by reading that. So you can actually simplify and facilitate, but get them to do it on their own. If you think still difficult, you can actually explain it and record it because it's use of ICT and send it to them. Listen to my explanation as well. And then do this activity. Read the textbook activity, listen to my explanation and do the activity. Can you do that? Can you do that? Yes, no? The only thing is what? Teacher has to be prepared a lot. Now, if it is student-centered, teacher goes in front of the class and goes on talking. No need of preparation. Teacher knows the subject. She can goes on talking. Teacher can show it because you are experts in the subject matter. But though you are expert in subject matter, if you are going to actually go student-centered, or if you are going to use this flipped method, you have to prepare materials. You have to prepare noticing activities. You have to design activities for in class for higher order. Lot of planning by the teacher. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah, that is the difficulty. So the teacher's mindset is also not there. Teacher's mindset is also not there. But this is the need of the hour. If we want our students to become autonomous learners, critical thinkers, right? Creativity to be promoted, you have to actually go change your attitude as a teacher and use these kind of methods in your school. Then when they actually are going through these experiences only, they will be able to develop these 21st century skills and become critical thinkers, cooperative learners, creativity can be improved, and all these things can happen. And they will develop their ability to communication. All these things are possible if you actually do use these kind of methods in the class only. Otherwise, never that they will actually be able to develop them, because they are just bookworms. They just practice this comprehension, understanding, lower order only, because that is what happens in the classroom. The rest is neglected. Never the classroom time is enough for the hot. So they are never done. They are set for homework, but they are not checked. So they are not doing them also. And they will not develop their ability to work with others and interact and communicate with each other, and all these skills are not learned. And this is really interesting. Actually, these are very simple things if you have time to prepare. If you can take time and do some preparation work for the next day activity, rather than what you know, you go in front of the class, you go on explaining. You don't need to prepare, you can just go because you know the subject matter as a teacher. But if you really want to flip the class, it needs a lot of planning as well, right? You have to send them the materials. So a week ahead that you can tell them for this class next week, Monday. This is the material. These are the noticing activities you have to do there. And then you have to give them feedback also using technology, preferably. So if you are using WhatsApp, you can actually, after 3 days, that you can give them the answers. They can mark their answers and then send it to you through WhatsApp. And then you can see how much that they have learned. And they themselves can see if they are wrong, what's the correct answer. And if you are very good in your technology, that you can actually use self-correct, self-check. They can actually answer the questions online in the Moodle, and they can see whether their answers are right or wrong, right? And then they can read it again if they're wrong and correct their answer. like that, you have to actually use this high technology with this. If it is not possible, you don't have, so we don't have those options, you don't have those facilities, you can use WhatsApp, right? And you can actually tell them in 3 days that I will, if not, you can get them to send the answers to you, and they are just select type answers. The marking is very easy. If not, you can get them to come on WhatsApp and get them to mark their own answers, right? And all that. You can get them before coming in class, because these lot are done out of class before the in class. You can find ways to do that. So even though not it's every day, but at least once a month, once a week later on, because you have to, as teachers, you have to have that mindset. As students also, they should also have their mindset for this to become very successful. But in developed countries, these methods are very common. So the teachers know they have to do them, students know they have to do them. That is their mindset. Any questions before I proceed? කිසිම question එකක් නැද්ද? No questions. ළමයි, can't you talk?
All was
Hello.
clear, ma'am.
Right. Everyone? Because
Yeah, ma'am.
yeah, okay. Now we will talk further about it, and I will show you an example also. Now look at this. In what way can the flipped classroom help improve the learning process? It allowed more time for students' active participation in class. I have explained it. Otherwise, no time for active participation. It's only teacher explanation, right? It allows more practical oriented learning process, because students come and do a drama, do a poster, do a question and answer session like that, because they already know the basics. It promoted cooperative learning, because they can work in groups, higher order thinking. It enhanced self-regulated learning. Students are now take responsibilities for their own learning at home first, right? That mindset is there. It's one of the 4 pillars of education. Learning to learn. What you learn today is not good enough for you tomorrow. So you should be able to learn. So you learn in the school to learn. One of the 4 pillars of education, learning to learn. So they have to actually learn. They should be trained in how to learn on their own, right? That is what the meaning of it is. It provided room for students' innovation and creativity, because our basics they will do little creative activities in the class. It ensured maximum use of ICT. It ensures maximum use of ICT. But implementation is difficult, because student-centered methods based on student-centered approach is highly challenging for the teacher. Teacher needs to be lot of kind of skilled in that. One challenge may be culture shock. Culture shock කියලා කියන්නේ that they are used to the traditional classroom. That's the classroom culture. That traditional classroom is flipped, sent topsy-turvy. So because of that, children are not used to this kind of thing. So when they are not used to this kind of thing, that they are not ready to do it. So teacher has to motivate them a lot, okay? And give them reminders, get them to be interested, and motivate them to actually do the needful. Learner preparation and learner accountability. If they don't do what you want them to do, if each and every student is not ready for the classroom activity, by doing the out of class activity that they are not ready to come, they are not prepared for the in-class activities, it's a failure. And sometimes when you are supposed to use ICT, maybe everyone not having a phone, maybe everyone not having internet connection. Those problems will actually be a problem. So they are actually challenges that the teacher has to face. In this method, the teacher in the flipped classroom, flip is the acronym, teacher flexibility. Both teacher and students matter. Teacher take matters, students matters into consideration. Okay. So teacher is flexible. You have to think in terms of students' abilities, learning styles, ability levels. All these things should be taken into consideration. Lengthen time through out of class activities and be learner centered. So you are learner centered and you can have more time to do a lesson because out of classroom activities are done. So you are lengthening the time allocated for the lesson by giving simple activities, lower order thinking activities as out of class. And you are making the classroom learner centered. So L for that. I is involved in student activities throughout. So I means involvement. Students are involved in activities throughout. Okay. Out of class, individually they do. In class, as a group, they do. So involvement and interaction, they are promoted. P, professionalism. To maximize learning, teacher needs to be competent. That professionalism means teacher is not only knows the subject matter. Teacher knows innovative methods. Teacher is creative. Teacher is skilled in applying these kind of new methods in the classroom. So teacher is a professional, right? So flip stands for that. So I think it's 8:50 now. I can give you a 15-minute break. And 9:05, I want you to back because we are going 3 hours, doing 3-hour sessions once a week. So 9:05, Pute, you come. So then I will show you an example. Are you okay?
Okay, ma'am.
Please come back at 9:05. We'll do a small example, show you an example. Okay? Right.
Yeah, sure.
Mhm. Okay, are you all back? Right. Are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Now I will show you some examples. And they are not perfect examples because they are done by some of my students sometimes back. And we will discuss why it's not good, why it's good, and all that. Okay. Because you're also going to do an assignment like this. So before that, let me show you the assignment that I'm going to get you to do. I'm sending it by tomorrow. Give me a second, Puta. Right. Okay. Let me show you the assignment. Let me share that assignment with you. This is the one. And look at this assignment. Okay, can you see? Yeah. Can you see?
Yeah, ma'am.
Yeah, okay. Question. Select a suitable lesson to be conducted using the flipped method, because very difficult lesson, very difficult topic. You can't think of doing flipped because they have to read and understand on their own. No? So because of that, a very difficult, complex lesson you will not teach using flipped, right? So you have to select a suitable lesson. Not each and every lesson, but there are some lessons they can just read, listen, understand, and come prepared. Okay, right. So select a suitable lesson to be conducted using the flipped method. They are state the subject, grade, etc. Next, select design materials and activities. Select or design materials. If you want, you can select materials from internet, textbook, or whatever, right? Paper article or whatever. If not, you can actually design materials. You can explain your own teaching, record it, right? This you can do. And you can get a video and you can have your own recording. If not, you can have a reading material plus your own recording, anything. Select or design materials and activities. Lower order thinking, that is for them to know what it is. Cut and paste, direct answers to be given to students as free activity or activities out of class before the in class. So it can be 2-3 activities also. For example, life cycle of the butterfly. You send them a video. And first one is listen to the video. Every 5th word is missing. So first time they read and they complete the paragraph you have said, the description, completing every 5th word. And then based on that, you can give them some MCQ questions. The first stage of the butterfly's life cycle is, there are 4 answers they have to select. So they don't know, they have to watch it again, right? And read the paragraph completed now. So another activity given. Then the third activity may be rearrange the life cycle of the butterfly in proper order. Likewise, for them to know what it is. Very simple select type control activities. So 1 not 2-3 activities, very simple ones. Okay. So select design materials and activities lot to be given to students as pre-activity or activities out of class before the in class. Next, design activity or activities hot for the subsequent in class. Now they come to class knowing the subject matter to engage in cooperative learning, higher order thinking learning, etc. Maybe presentations, maybe question and answer session, maybe a drama, maybe making a notice or a poster like that. Okay. Write a brief note on how you are going to conduct the lesson. I want to tell you, Mithanadi, are you listening?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. I want to tell you this, Mithanadi. Design activities hot for the subsequent in class. You're highly student-centered, no? Because of that, you may design 2 or 3 activities. Whichever they like, they can take according to their learning styles. We have discussed multiple intelligences, learning styles. They have their own preferences. So in the student-centered classroom that you get them to do whatever they like, no? You get my point?
Yeah, ma'am.
You can actually prepare at least 2 activities. They have a choice. They can do a poster. If not, they can do a presentation. So depending on their learning styles and multiple intelligences and all that, they will decide which one they are going to do. It's going student-centered. Choice is student-centered. Okay? That also is possible. If not, only one activity. It's up to you to decide as the teacher. Okay? Then write a brief note on how you are going to conduct the lesson. Write a brief note on how you are going to conduct the lesson. Word limit is 300 to 400, exclusive of the activities. Again, activity එකට අයිති නෑ මේ 300 400 words. Your write up brief note on how you are going to conduct the lesson, that has to be within 300 to 400 words. This is the actually assignment that you would be getting tomorrow, right? Okay,
Okay, ma'am.
now only 7 participants. Who is not here now? They are missing it. If you are in a WhatsApp group, ask them to come, right? But I will not be waiting. Now I'm going to show you some
Madam,
sample.
we are listening. We are listening to you.
Right, okay, you're listening to me. Right, good. Then do you want to see some samples? Because I can then actually get you to look at good or bad about it, whether this is proper or not. They are not all perfect ones I'm showing, right? So
Okay, madam.
let's see. Here, I saved them here. There's an water cycle one. So let's see water cycle here. Can you see? Yeah. Subject is science. This is done by a student. So I don't know whether it's good or bad. We'll discuss. Okay. Are you ready?
Yeah, ma'am.
Yes.
Subject is science. Topic is the water cycle. Grade is 5. So you're using flipped grade 5 class C. Right. Now what she has to do is pre-class activities for lot. Very simple because I have asked you to give the activities and the materials. No? So pre-class activities lot. Lower order thinking. Cut and paste. එතකොට activities උත් වෙන්න ඕනේ කොයි වගේද? Not to do write summaries, not to write essays. It's rearranging, MCQs, fill in the blank, matching A and B like activities. Okay. Now she says, this is the material. Students watch a short video on the water cycle. So you have to give instructions. Watch the following video. Make a variety. Students watch a short video on the water cycle is no. You're getting the students to, in activity sheet, you write, watch the following video on water cycle. On the water cycle. My dear instructions. Okay. So this is a mistake. So then you can actually click on that and get them to watch. Then water cycle song. Ekat material ekak. You may get them to read the song. Our water is recycled. Our water is recycled. The water cycle is what it is called. What water is recycled. The sun dries up the water. The sun dries up the water. Evaporation is what is called. The sun dries up the water. So it's repeated. They have to sing on their own, right? It's not classroom activity. Don't know whether the video is on that. We'll see. Then she has given this illustration also, the water cycle. Condensation like that, evaporation. All these words are given. This is a grade 5 class. They have that for science. So now this is the lot activity. Are you listening?
Yeah, ma'am.
This is not all good that I'm going to look at all the mistakes, right? Students read a short article on the water cycle and answer a few comprehension questions. What is the water cycle? What are the 4 main stages of what is the role of the sun in the water cycle? What is the water cycle important? Why is how can we protect the water cycle? Students create a diagram of the water cycle in their notebook. So they are actually, so the diagram, the reading material is not given, no? And these kind of activities are too big. These are, they have to write answers, no comprehension, no? These are too big for the grade 5 class. What she could have done is, now here they have some new words, no? Can you see?
Yeah, ma'am.
So you could have actually got them to first read what these words mean, right? Maybe an audio, you prepare an audio. Evaporation means this. Proclamation, percolation is this. So then you give them activity, match the words with the definition. So they listen to your audio or video and match. Evaporation means this. They match. Okay. And then you could have given them the kind of a video or reading passage on water cycle, how it works. So if it is a video, you get them to complete the paragraph description of the water cycle, what happens next and all that. But some words are missing. Maybe every 7th word is missing. So you get them to listen, because they have to listen to complete the word. And then you can ask few questions, stages of the water cycle. If not, you could have asked, මේ cycle එක වචන නැතුව දෙනවා.
Ma'am. Hello, ma'am.
Hello. Hello, madam. I can't see. I can't hear you.
Madam is not here, right?
She's not there.
Yeah.
Mubarika is the host now.
He is not yet here.
That's fine. Eh?
Madam. Hello, ma'am.
Hello. I was connected for some time, disconnected, no?
Yeah, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay, now I will, but you saw that what I discussed with you all, that science lesson, no?
Yeah.
I will share another one then. I told you know that the hot activities are okay, Kil, I told. You were listening. Hot activities good, Kil, I told. You were listening there.
In between, it was disconnected, ma'am.
Then I'm sharing same activity. I have now thought you look at hot activities. Can you see in class activities for hot?
Yeah.
Higher order thinking. And now it says students work in groups to create a model of water cycle. They can use any materials. Can you hear me? Because the connection is unstable.
Yeah, now can hear you.
They can use any, that is why you all should respond to me. Otherwise, I don't know you're connected yet. They can use any materials they like, but they must be able to explain how their model shows the different stages of the water cycle. So you have to ask them to bring materials to the model of the water cycle, and students work in groups and be very creative in making this is psychomotor domain, and then they have to actually explain also the water cycle. It's really good activity, no? And the student present their models and explain how they work. The class assesses the different models, how they can be improved. That is a very good hot activity anyway. But there's no choice given. That is a limitation in this. Are you okay?
Okay, madam.
Oh, yes. Then I will actually open another one. I'm helping you a lot. You have to actually do a very good one. Okay, that's why I'm helping you a lot with this. This is very important because once you actually take time and you can see if you are a really practicing teachers, you can do something related to your own subject and try it in your own classes also. And you can see how students like doing these activities. This is also science. Can you all see?
Not yet, ma'am.
No.
Oh. Right. Here, that now you can see, no? Science class, photosynthesis, pre-activity materials. So there are 3 videos. Okay, grade 8 class, 3 videos. Worksheet on photosynthesis. Now, first one, what is photosynthesis? What are the products of photosynthesis? What are the requirements for photosynthesis to take place in the leaf? Mark true or statements for false. The first one, of course, I think that they have to give the MCQ answers. What is photosynthesis? That they have to actually write the explanation. No? Better that you can give matching or whatever. Hari? Are you okay?
Yeah, ma'am.
The true or false is really good. Then the T for true and a false, that is good because they don't have to do a lot of things, not but to understand. Am I right?
Yeah,
Mm. Now write down the equation of photosynthesis. I don't think that it's a good question. Instead, you can actually give the equation and ask them to name it. If not, rearrange it. You understand?
yeah.
So the weaknesses are also there. True, false is really good. You don't give hard activities. Select, match, rearrange, those kind of activities. Transfer of information, one word answers, fill in the blank. That is what you give them, right? Because activity, lot of help is there. The purpose is to get them to do it and then they come to know what it is. That is the idea. Otherwise, if you get them to write big answers and all that, they're difficult for them. Okay. Now, pre-activity. Students are required to watch the videos to obtain a brief overview on the process of photosynthesis the day before the lesson and find the answers to the questions in the worksheet. Classroom activity materials, that is hot. Drawing the plant on a rough sheet and labeling how the photosynthesis process takes place. Experiment to observe the plant leaf stores food produced by photosynthesis. Experiment to observe the plant produces oxygen as a product of photosynthesis. Classroom activities, drawing a rough sketch, setting up a laboratory apparatus and performing the experiment. Why iodine is used as the reagent by placing the boiled leaf on the white tile. Right. It's a bit activity, but it also needs it. So I explain it to you. Now I will another one. Right. Can you see?
Yeah, ma'am.
I don't think that this is proper. I'll show you one. Give me a second. Okay. Right, anyway, now I think I have given you enough examples, Kayla. I can't find any other script proper one. So can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, what is your subject? Each one of you talk. Can see Sulochana. Sulochana, what is the subject? What do you teach?
Madam, I am teaching for grade 1 now. I am doing all the subjects for them, madam.
Then with
English
grade
medium.
1, don't think that you can use the flip method, Putta. Okay?
Okay, madam.
You can actually take a grade 5 or
I'm
grade
doing
6.
science, English, maths, poetry, everything,
So
madam.
better to take English grade 6 or grade 5 reading
Okay, madam. I
passage.
will take.
Right? English
Okay,
grade
madam.
6
I
or
can
grade
manage.
5 reading passage. This is Sulochana, no?
Yes, madam.
Yeah, Sulochana, then if you are giving them a reading passage, don't give them big comprehension question answers.
Yeah.
Instead, if you think that it's very difficult for them to read, pronunciation is a matter, with the reading passage, you can send them an audio clip.
Yes.
Right? And then you can ask them transfer of information. Name, it's about a person, description of a person, name of the person. They have to just write the name. Place of right, birth, age, hobbies. They have to just write. If not, match. Right?
Yeah.
Name, answer is on another column, match and all that. So they read it and come. You understand? So once they come to class, you get them to actually look at that reading passage and then write something about their, now they read about some other person, no? Replacing
Yeah.
some other words that they can write about somebody else. It's about
Oh.
Rupa, and you give information about some, you put them into groups, and you can ask them to write about teachers. So she is Mala, මෙතන teacher ගේ නම දාන්න. She is Miss Ireshi. Then she's 20 years old, she's 30 years old. අරව replace කර කර ලියනවා. ඊට පස්සේ කියනවා පන්තිය. You understand? They are
Yes,
hot.
madam.
They are hot. Okay? Something like
Okay.
that you can do. That is අනිත්‍යයට හැමතිස්සම lot ඒවා MCQ, matching, arranging and all that. Okay?
Okay,
Simple
madam.
activities, cut and paste, very direct. So Salma, what is your subject? I will not ask everyone, 2 or 3 people I will ask. Salma.
I was also doing grade 2, all the subjects.
So you also can take English or environmental studies, but not for grade 2, because fifth method is not for grade 2. You all understand, right?
Yeah,
Right. Maybe grade 5 science lesson.
yeah,
Something like that. And it make use of videos also, because for mathematics, for science, there are a lot of ready-made material available, even for English, right? You don't have to stick to the work made textbook or whatever.
yeah.
Yeah. Maybe listen and do something and come prepared to do it in class, right? And Nilupuli, what is yours?
ICT, madam.
That of course is can't get them to ICT is a difficult one, no?
Yes,
But still you can think of, am I right?
Yes, ma'am. I'm doing all this group work and all those students that
Then you will be able to manage, no? Yeah. You have an idea how to do it. Okay, no problem. Shara. Shara.
I'm teaching English, ma'am.
Then you can easily find something, no?
Yes.
Yeah. You're doing the upper grades or
I'm doing from 3 years to A-level students.
then you can easily think of a very good lesson, huh?
Yes,
The
ma'am.
concept is clear to you, Puta?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, no problem then. Vidanage.
Ma'am, I am doing English.
So you can also find some grammar point. You can actually get them to listen to an explanation by you or a video on something, and then get them to do some matching or whatever, and then they know it, and then come to class and do something. Maybe it's not a presentation all the time. You can get them to work as groups and do an activity based on the grammar rule. Maybe that you get them to look at degrees of adjectives, maybe the superlatives, the tallest and all that, and get them to actually do activities in groups, which is catering to their thought. That is good. And then you can actually get them to listen to a video on some trees and all that, how trees are fell, why they actually are fallen by people, and what has happened to, and all that. And then they learn a lot of vocabulary, and then in the class you can get them to be in groups and do a small write-up, a paragraph, and present it to the class using the content, content and the vocabulary that they learn. Something like that also possible. So the concept එක තමයි lower order cut and paste. Activities are matching, English transformation from active to passive, simple present to simple past, like that, positive to negative, and then matching, rearranging, filling the blank, close passages like that. In the class, presentations, posters, question and answer sessions, debates like that, okay, write-ups, essays and all that in groups, okay, that English people easily can apply this. Even science also puluwa, maths also puluwa. Now you're teaching them maths shapes. Now there are lots of videos. So you can actually get them to watch the video and do some matching, rearranging or whatever, very simple activities, and come to the class. They have learned the basics of it, and then to do some creative group work in the class. Afra, I spoke
Excuse
to
me,
Afra.
ma'am.
Did I speak to you?
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah. Tell.
I'm really very sorry. There was a current failure. That's why I was disconnected.
Okay, this is Afra.
Nilpuli. No, I'm
Nilupuli.
Nilpuli.
Nilupuli, what's your subject?
ICT, madam.
You talk to me, right? You said that you can easily
Yes.
manage Kela. No, you have an idea.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
Mubarika. Mubarika, what's your
English,
subject?
English.
English people can easily manage. Don't just do, right? Now you have 2 weeks now. I really want you to develop your study skills. If you have 2 weeks now, when you get your assignment, have a timeline. In the timeline, you can set aside some days, 1 or 2 days, for you to resource. What are the very good lessons that I can have? Whether it's a video, what are the videos available? What are the activities matching, fill in the blank that I can do? Feasible lessons are what they are. To decide on the lesson also, you have to take 1 or 2 days. Just think, this is good, I will do. Then you can't actually think of each and every lesson is suitable. And you have to use ICT. Because of that, if you can actually develop something like that now, Nilupuli is an ICT teacher. You may know how to actually develop self-check MCQs and all that. So then you can actually get the students to send you the self-check marks. If it is not possible, you can actually develop a series of MCQs and get the students to do it and send it to you, because marking is very easy for you. If not,
And also there are some softwares also like word wall activities, like such activities we can just give them the activity and suddenly give the results also.
yeah. So you
Shorter
will be able
results.
to be smarter there, I know, definitely. So it's actually a form of blended learning. No? There are form of blended learning. ICT should be used. I think it's not always Moodle or apps and all that. Even using the mobile is something. You're sending them an audio record is something, right? So always you have to give them feedback also on what they do. Otherwise, they come to class without knowing whether what they have learned is right or wrong. As a teacher, you should have that understanding that they have learned it, Kela. You understand?
Yes, ma'am.
So as you all are practicing teachers, except for these primary teachers, those who are doing 1 and 2, they can't, of course, do it in school. Others, you can think of a lesson from their syllabus. Right? You can always use extra materials like videos and all that. So take a topic from the syllabus. Then you can actually go and practice it in class also. Okay? Your students will like it definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then I will be sending you the assignment tomorrow. I will give you 2 weeks. Is it possible with you all now?
Yes, ma'am.
Little bit of thinking on it. Api teachers unas, you all have to be thinking, creative. That creativity, critical thinking, how I'm going to plan this, thinking harder about the lesson. You have the lesson, you go and walk in and then just explain. It's not this, right? So the teachers also have to be critical thinkers, very creative in what you're doing. Interesting that if you actually can get into this kind of teaching, not every day though, very interesting. So teachers also have to actually think out of the box, and when it is the first attempt, it's not easy. You have to think very hard. But later on, when you get used to these kind of things, you will enjoy actually preparing this kind of activity. So it needs planning, it needs preparation of materials and activities, it needs giving feedback, it needs a lot of planning. And if you are a teacher doing flip method, you have to have a plan, a timeline. I have to actually send materials on this day. I have to get the students to complete the activities, and I have to give feedback on this particular day. I have to send instructions if needed for them to come prepared for the lot, for example, hot in the class, because if they are to do, as I showed you, if they are to do a model of the water cycle, they need to bring material. Likewise, that you have to actually plan it a lot and accordingly do that. So this is very interesting. I prefer, except for the primary teachers, the others to think of a way of actually doing that, what you do for the assignment with your students, and see whether it works, what kind of results, or what kind of feedback that you can get from your students. You can ask your students whether it was difficult. If you plan it nicely, they will definitely like it. Okay, without making it a kind of we can't do it on our own because we have to do it on our own. No, you are making it very simple, right? Activities are also very simple. If there's anything that you have to explain, it is also recorded and sent. The only thing is a culture shock. They're not used to this kind of thing. So once you actually give them a lot of motivation and all that, they will do. Right? You have to make it very interesting also, otherwise they will not like it. So I showed you the assignment also. So once you get that, you can start working on that. But remember, if you have anything, you don't have to wait till we meet next week, but you can start working on that. But the following next Wednesday, when I come to class, you can actually double check it with me, whether you are doing all right. Until then, that you can actually start working on that. Are you okay?
Yeah, ma'am.
Mhm. So I think that is my discussion on flip method. I can move on to another one actually. Let me share the, I think I have adequately discussed that, Kill, I believe. If you have anything that you have to talk to me now. Now in my PowerPoint, I have another topic. The topic is the topic is scientific method. So we can actually quickly discuss the scientific method before we wind up.